Everybody, welcome to Tapping in Part 2, this evening's webinar. I'm Lisa and I will be going through the webinar with you tonight. So, welcome to everyone that has not done any of the webinars yet. We have 6 webinars that we do over 2 weeks. They're 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays. So if you've missed any, you can join us in the next one. The next one I'll be doing will be tomorrow. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a pen and paper to write down any notes or an iPad, and hopefully you can forget about the current health crisis and focus on what we can do to better the future for people with disability and impairment. And that starts with us today. Okay, first I'll just do an acknowledgement of country. 30-foot drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures, beliefs to both elders past and present. 30-foot drop funding. 30-foot drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys wouldn't exist or see the light of day, and we'd be much more poorer for it as a community. So we thank them. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-foot drop as an information, linkages and capacity building grant for 2018 and 2019. Let's go over some 30-foot drop Two Wise Monkeys housekeeping. Unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to live stream all of our platforms. So if you do have any questions, you can jump onto our website, which is the link below this video, www.30footdrop.com.au/live. So there you can hit the live button and that will take you into a live chat box where you can ask any questions you like with me about today, about past webinars. No questions are off limits. We'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so we just would like you guys to try and make minimal distractions. I know that's probably quite hard in the current time. I'm about to take this home next week and try it from home with my kids in the other room, so wish me luck with that. It's hard to minimize the distractions, but we'll do our best. Please make sure that you tag 30-foot drop in anything that you share of ours. We would love to be involved and share the message with everyone. So if you talk about us, tag us, share our links to people, that would be amazing. And if you did know anyone that you think could benefit from these webinars, please share the information. We feel it's such an important message that needs to be heard and it needs to be more well known. And now's a good time to go over these kinds of things for your business and changes that need to be made, because once we get out of this and come out of this health crisis, let's hope that it's a much better world than what it was. Okay, we'll be recording the session as well, so if there's anything you want to go over or rewind or look at again, you can re-watch it once I hit the end button. As well, you can also watch these on our Vimeo library, YouTube channel, Facebook and our website. So there's a few platforms where you can watch this from. All the research spoken in the webinars is all available on our website. So if you wanted to go into more detail on anything we speak about, you can find more resources on our website under the sources in our in the resource library. At the end of the webinar, we do have a short survey that we would love for everyone to fill out. It's only a few questions just to give us feedback on what you thought and how we are going with the information we are giving you. So that is the housekeeping for tonight. We will now head into the presentation introductions. So, I am Lisa and I am Hear No Evil. Just by looking at me, you probably can't tell what I may suffer from. Through me, you'll realise that you'll hear no evil about impairment. My story is definitely a more hidden one. At age 8, I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. Teachers used to hit me on the head, yell out my low marks, and yell at me in front of my classmates. Why don't you understand what's wrong with me? Of course, making me feel completely dumb and unworthy and pretty much hating school. But despite these challenges, I was determined to prove these teachers wrong and succeed. I ended up passing school, doing well at school, with a lot of extra work and study, which people with learning disabilities and other disabilities would find that it takes you 4 times longer to sometimes process the information. But I did succeed in the end, and that's my message to you guys, that nobody's perfect. No one needs to be an amazing mathematician or speller to get to places they want to go in life. You'll find your passion. It's just a matter of finding it and sticking with that. So my passion I found when I was about 13. I was in an art class and I was drawing a still life of a pumpkin in a bottle or something like that. And the teacher stopped and said, "Oh, wow, look at what you've drawn." And I hadn't really drawn much before. It was just, I don't know, I just had this visual connection. I'm very visual anyway. And she held it up and was showing everyone, this is how you should do it, and this is how it's meant to be shaded, and all of that. And I thought, wow, I'm actually better at some of my classmates at something, finally. So find that passion, and a lot of us, it is creative. Find that passion, go with it. My creative side took me all around the world. I've worked in art galleries. I've got a diploma in the arts field. I've got a diploma in museum grade. I can work with museum grade artworks and preserving them and looking after them for the museums all around the world. I've worked all around the world with my diplomas in all sorts of different galleries around the world. I have one in counselling because I'm very passionate about helping people get through their hard times. And I have my own photography business as well at the moment, which is Lisa Hall Creative, if you wanted to check it out. Okay, so the other wise monkey is See No Evil, and that is the director and my boss, Ben. He takes the webinars sometimes as well. At the moment, because of the current health crisis, he's having to do other things. But his disability or impairment is a more visual. You can see it. He's in a wheelchair. He had an accident. He's in a wheelchair. And he learnt very quickly after his accident that nothing was actually known about how to involve and include people with disabilities or impairments. So his main mission in life is to get that awareness out there, and this is why we're here today. So he's just done such a good job. Okay, but isn't there supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? Who is Speak No Evil? Let's take a guess who Speak No Evil is. You. After tonight, you will be Speak No Evil, and we do have t-shirts coming up available for you guys to be that monkey, Speak No Evil. I will show one of those to you in the next few days. So, the aim of today's workshop is to turn you into a wise monkey. You'll begin on a journey of realising that, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be acknowledged and treated the same way as anyone else. Such an important message. Why should someone with a disability or impairment be treated any differently? There's no difference. We're all human and deserve to be treated the same. Okay, so outline and method of tonight's webinar. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and how to employ these amazing people into your business or service. First up, we're going to look at disability, employment service providers, what they are and how they can help your business. After that, we will go through 5 tips on how you can prepare your business to employ people with a disability or impairment. To finish up, we will have an open forum session where you can ask any questions, but like I said before, you can ask any along the way anyway. So how are we going to cover this? What will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, open, honest discussion. If we can't be open and honest about disability and impairments, then no changes can be made. And the more open and honest we can be, and the more we can get these messages out there, the more chance things are going to change. And they slowly are, which is really, really positive to hear. So how are we going to cover this? What will our teaching method be? I think I already said that, didn't I? Open, honest discussion. Anyway, feel free to ask any questions. You'll notice as well on these slides so far that there hasn't been very much written content, and that's because we're all here to interact with each other and to make it easy for people to read the slides easy. There's no complex information. You're not having to keep up with the information, and we do not believe in death by PowerPoint. So it's nice and easy for people with vision impairments, hearing impairments, all sorts of things. So we just love how simple and easy it is. And if you're thinking now, wow, that is effective, there's certain things on your own website that are too complex, then think about changing that and making it easier. We go over a lot of how to do that in our 4th and 5th webinar. So if you want to join us back for that, we can help you with that. Okay, now we will look at terminology and review. So first up is the difference between disability and impairment. To reduce confusion and ensure understanding, I want to review the terminology that we use in the 2 Wise Monkeys workshops. And the first one is the difference between disability and impairment. A lot of people get this mixed up. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological and psychological function. In short, your impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my medical diagnosis is mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitations of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access or participate in something. So someone with limited mobility, if you owned a cafe and the only way up to that cafe were stairs, then that person with a mobility issue is unable to access your business. So this is all about making your business accessible and inclusive to people with disability and impairment. You're losing those customers. They can't get up the stairs. Something to think about. Okay, so my example for a disability or impairment and unable to access information would be someone with a learning disability or dyslexia or anything else like that could find that too much wording and complex information, stylized script as well, can sometimes make it hard for people with dyslexia or learning disabilities to understand, which then makes it hard for you to get the right information that they need to use your service. This is especially important because some impairments are hidden, like mine. So if you've got, like I said before, too much complex information on your signage or your advertisements, then a certain percentage of us are not going to understand it, or it's going to be too much information where they just won't even go there. They'll just find something else that's easier to understand or not as complex. So that's another thing to think about with your business advertising and marketing. Make it easy to understand, just like what we've done with our webinars. Anyway, I hope that all makes sense about the disability and impairment. Next is the difference between access and inclusion. And unfortunately, this is quite often referred to as the same word, but it's not. Access refers to the removal or reduction of physical barriers to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and is easily assessed with a checklist. So that's all about people being able to access your premises, like the description I gave before about the cafe. The person that is disabled, is unable to access your cafe. Inclusion. Inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is the process whereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality, who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as every other member in the community. Inclusion is making sure that everyone can take part and everyone is included. If you have a business where you're set on only having certain people there, then that's not inclusive. You need your business to be inclusive for every single human being, and that is so important, and that is the message of inclusion. Okay, any questions? You can head over and ask any questions anytime. Just make sure there's no questions there. Right, okay, the next thing we will look at, we will be getting into more depth of the webinar part 2. Disability Employment Services, what are they? Disability Employment Services help people with a disability to find work and keep a job. Providers of disability employment services are called DES providers for short. Through DES providers, people with disability, injury or health conditions may be able to receive assistance to prepare for, find and keep a job. How awesome is this? And who here listening had no idea about a DES provider? Such an important thing to know, that there's so many all throughout the country. They have people with disability or impairments waiting for you to give them a call and say, I need someone, who have you got? DES providers are a mix of large, medium and small for-profit and non-for-profit organisations. They are experienced in supporting people with disability, as well as aiding employees to put in place practices to support the employee in the workplace. So if you are having trouble finding work, please contact your DES provider or have a look on our website for more information. The information is under resources. So if you're having trouble finding work, contact your DES provider. But if you're also looking for someone, contact your DES provider. Okay, how are DES providers funded? DES providers are funded by the government. Providers receive payments for helping participants find and maintain work. Payments are structured so that providers earn more funding when they place more people into long-lasting employments. This acts as an incentive to make sure that the best possible matches are made. So you're not going to get someone that doesn't want to be there. Which we go into a little bit more soon. Job matching. How do DES providers make sure that they get the right match? It's all about understanding both parties, the candidate and the business. And the DES provider is the link between the two. So the DES provider will help the candidate with the career history. They will look at the aspirations of that person. They will help understand their barriers and work with those. They'll work out with the employee by exploring their qualities and capabilities. They also get candidates job ready through work experience, training and volunteering, making sure that the candidate is as job ready as they possibly can be. Let's go over to the business now. what the desk provider will do for the business. The desk provider will help the employee and the employer understand the new employer's business needs, describe and discuss business dynamics, and create a suitable role. Once the employer and the employee fully understand both sides, then they match them with the job that meets both parties' needs. So it's all about supporting each other. And at the end of the day, it's a huge win for everybody. Okay, where do clients come from? Desk candidates are not forced into employment. So in saying this, you haven't got someone that doesn't want to be there. They are already actively looking for work through these various ways. So they've come to the desk provider through word of mouth, self-referral following a discussion with a team member or family member or friend, self-referral after exposure to advertising and social media platforms, referral from a health professional, community agency or school, referral from Centrelink or other government agencies, self-determining move from another desk provider, community talks, community health desks and pop-up shops, discussions with health and community agencies and schools, employment forums and expos. So these are all the people that know all about the desk providers. So you can contact them if you want to know more about it, or you can go directly to the desk provider. But all of these people know. So if you out there are watching and you haven't contacted a desk provider and you have a disability or impairment and you sort of want to contact your health professional first, then they will know how to help you and point you in the right directions. There's so much support out there. It's just getting that information out there and knowing. Okay, so now we will look at role creation or job carving. What is it? It's all about improving your business's efficiency. Finding tasks that can be done by less qualified and cheaper, allowing the more qualified to be more productive. So it's all about, giving that chance to someone with a disability or impairment, but also letting the rest of your employers carry on with what they need to do, as well as providing someone a job that really, really wants it. So here's an example of this. There are 4 mechanics employed at a workshop. They spend at least 30 minutes each day cleaning up the workshop. During this time, they are not creating profit and costing a total of 2 hours' wages at full mechanics rates. Imagine that. So employing someone to come in for 2 hours a day, employing someone through a desk provider to come in for 2 hours a day will lower your rate and allow the mechanics to continue generating profit. So it just makes sense, and it's crazy that more of us aren't doing it. But that is why our message is coming out today, so that you can look at these things. So how amazing would it feel as a business owner to employ someone that really, really wants to be there and really, really wants a job? And how beneficial would it be to you as a business owner to save time and money by employing someone who is seeking work through a desk provider? So cool. I noticed the other day at the Good Guys that they had a young guy working there. He was in a mobility scooter, had a uniform on, everything, and he was going around the shop selling things to people. He was happy. He was loving it, and the staff were really helpful, and the customers were really nice, and everyone was happy working together with this guy. So there's no need to have that wall up and think that there's all these barriers, because there's not. We are all human and we are all the same. So I hope I'm making sense so far. Any questions, you can head over to the chat box. So follow this link under the video if you have any questions. www.30footdrop.com.au/live. So support. As well as job matching and role creation, DES providers also offer the following 2 free services, which are candidate support and application assistance. Let's go over application support. DES providers will support their candidates in their role by regular on and off site visits, where they ensure the candidate continues understanding the employer's expectations and needs. So the candidate isn't just given a job and then the DES provider drops and runs. They're always there to contact, whether you're the employee or the employer. They will always be there supporting you both. They also look for any requirements for assistive technology for both parties. They monitor developing requirements to maintain the performance. They deal with any questions or issues swiftly, and most DES providers will be contactable outside of the office hours. So that's important to know for both the employee and the employer. So if you needed to contact the DES provider person that's looking after your employee, you can contact them before or after work. It doesn't have to be within work hours. And they'll always be available. Okay, so next we will go over application support. DES providers will provide free assistance with the following applications: wage subsidies, workplace modifications through job access. Both these subsidy sources are covered in Tapping In Part 1, which you can book into if you missed it. So I did that yesterday if you wanted to go back and look at that, or we will be starting Tapping In Part 1 after the school holidays. So that will be around the 29th of April. But you can watch it yesterday if you missed it. You can watch yesterday's one. But if you wanted to jump into a live one, it won't be available again until around the 28th of April. So, yeah, job access and the modifications, subsidies stuff will be in that Tapping In Part 1. Okay, so how do you get started? Get in touch with your local DES provider. Provide them with the required information and employ a matched candidate. Gather the required evidence. The DES provider will gather the required evidence, fill out the paperwork, and any other requirements in order to proceed with the employment. How stress-free would it be for both parties knowing that the DES provider will sort it all out for you? And I'm sure that this is one thing that businesses or services, this is one thing stopping them from employing people with disability and impairment, because they think of all the paperwork that might have to be done by them, and that's something they don't have time for or they don't understand. But it just shows you don't have to do it. All you need to do is sign away that you want to employ that person, and that's all. So the DES provider is a very, very handy person to have when employing that beautiful employee that you're going to employ. Okay, so now that we have done that, you can enjoy your new employee. Preparing your business. Candidate support and selection. Now that you have committed to employing someone with a disability, what is next? Here are 5 tips to get you started and ensure your new employee reaches their full potential. So, starting at candidate support. As with all hiring, it's important to get the right match. A person's disability may be quite irrelevant to the kind of work required, which means people with a disability are employed all across the board. Using a DES provider will give you access to a far wider talent pool along with objective and relevant advice when making your selection. Disability awareness training. Many people are apprehensive about dealing with a new team member that lives with a disability. Conducting targeted training for your staff can address these questions and help people be confident in working with their new colleague. This promotes positive attitudes and teamwork and ensures everyone is treated fairly and equally. Funding is available for this through Job Access. So, the accessibility of your business, what happens there? Preparing your workplace so that it is accessible will allow the employee to do their job and help with a smooth onboarding process. Making sure that the person with the disability is involved because they will know what works best for them. So if they are needing some modifications done or some changes done, don't just automatically think that you know what those changes are, because the person with the disability or impairment will probably know what needs to happen. They may have faced it before and they'll say, hey, hang on, you don't need to spend that much money. We can just do this. I'm fine with you just doing this. So make sure they're involved. Their needs will vary on the employee's disability or health condition. And funding is available for all modifications through Job Access, which is in part 1. Other considerations may include rosters, work times, and practices. See, because sometimes it's harder for someone with a disability or impairment to be at work at 7 a.m. in the morning. Some people with disability and impairments have carers, or they have family members that need to help them get ready, and it's not a 20-minute job getting ready. Some people can take hours to get ready in the morning, so it's giving that time and space for that person to get ready for work and to have them come at a reasonable time that suits them. You could extend their hours to later in the evening, or they could make it up by doing an extra day, or you just need to work it out with them, just as long as you're fair and you accommodate their needs, which is important. Okay, so next is induction and mentoring. Your new employee should receive an induction, relevant workplace training, and ongoing support through a designated buddy or mentor, especially in the early stages of their employment, which is important. So that's just like any other worker. When you start a new job, you've normally got someone with you, training you, explaining how everything works. Well, someone with a disability, of course, is no different. So they're going to need a buddy or a mentor. And think about any reasonable adjustments beforehand that may necessarily need to be made in the induction intake process. And if you do that beforehand, it'll be very rewarding, mutually rewarding for both of you. Okay, this is the last one for tonight. Post-placement consultant. If your new employee is connected with a DES provider, they will then have a consultant allocated to provide post-placement support completely free of charge. In addition to supporting the employee, the consultant is also intended as a go-to person if you have any questions or concerns. Use the consultant as a free resource to you and your team and ensure things run as smoothly as possible in the first few months of the role. The DES providers want to make it the workplace placement as successful as possible. So the DES provider really wants to make it work. So if you've got some concerns or anything like that, then don't hold them back. Go and talk to your DES provider or the DES provider consultant that's working with your employee. There's all sorts of different subsidies and things available to you to make it work. You're not going to be left on your own to pay for all these different things that need to be put in place for your employer. There's help there because we all want the jobs made available to people with disability impairment because they deserve it just as much as anyone else. So that is webinar part 2. I hope you enjoyed that tonight. We now will be moving on to questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to send them to me now. But if you do have to go, got jobs to do, reading stories to your children, cooking dinner, I understand. But before you go, please fill out the survey. It's a very quick survey. We'd love to have your feedback. But if you do have some questions, stay on the line and send those to me now. I will hit the question button and see the rest of you soon. But if you do have to go, stay well, take care of each other, check on your neighbours, check on your friends that are on their own, because it'd just be so hard being on your own and isolated. So make sure you check on people, check on your neighbours, and stay well and look after each other. But I will talk to anyone that has stayed on to ask any questions, and I will be back in 5 minutes for everyone else. Thanks for joining me. Okay, welcome back. There doesn't appear to be any questions tonight, which is fine. I hope you all enjoyed the tapping in part 2. I will be back here tomorrow to do tapping in part 3. So join us for that. We will be looking at the Australian population and who these people are and what the percentages and stats are. It's really interesting one tomorrow, so please join us, and if you know anyone that could benefit from these webinars, now's the time to sit down and make the changes. I know we can't make them today or tomorrow, but gathering all the right information to make this change for when this health crisis is over, we can come out the other side with better ideas, with better, more efficient ways of running our business, making all these changes, writing everything down that needs to be changed. And once the ball gets rolling again, let's hope it's sooner rather than later, we can make these changes and make some people out there very happy to have a job. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Stay well.